Okay, let's start, everyone. Let us put ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord as we all say, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, we look up to you now. We ask for your guidance as we start our virtual class this afternoon. We hope and we pray that you'll bless us in this session and that everything will go according to your will and purpose. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Okay, word of the day is big well, meaning it influenced someone in a deceptive way. For example, our prof uh, um, beguiled his students just by his looks. So he sometimes uh, he's very charm. He influence someone in a deceptive way. Christine, where's the exercise?
Sige, wait pa. Okay na? Libak ka ba na ko? Ano na? Sakto ba nang gipilig? Okay na, Ez? Sorry.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to start the reporting for our topic this meeting. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, is my screen still visible? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sir. For today's discussion, I'll be talking about the physical and motor development of early childhood education. So, in today's meeting, I'll be going to report four topics: the physical and motor development of early childhood, brain development of early childhood, environmental influences on development of the brain, and the factors affecting the development. So, first, let's go to the physical development in children. So, the physical development was discussed last night in our subject play. So, let us start now the oral participation. Uh, is there anyone who wants to say something on what they know about physical development? So those who want to answer, state your last name as I cannot see your hands raised.
Amores.
Okay, I'm Horace.
um, Physical development is development of physical changes.
Okay, development of physical changes. Are there any other who wants to say on what they know about physical development? Are there anyone or none? Okay, I'll continue. Okay, so physical development in children. It refers to the development of their motor skills, which involves using their bodies. It is also defined by a child's gross motor, fine motor, and balance or coordination skills. So, physical development is the development of physical changes. Amars was right. So, physical development includes growing in size and strength, and also as well as the development of both gross and gross and fine motor skills. So, when we talk about the motor skills, it relates to the use of the the, the use of our own extremities, or and it is also part of the physical development that also refers to the growth of our abilities of how we use our bodies and our physical skills. So, what is the motor development during childhood education? So, can I ask anyone uh, to explain uh, on what they know about the difference between fine motor skills and gross motor skills?
Ko, me that
Dagodo?
may answer. Yes. So when we say gross motor skills, it is a movement related to large muscles. So and while fine motor skills, it's movements that also relates in small muscles.
Yes,
Or
correct.
yes,
Okay, continue.
I think
Okay,
that's all.
okay. So Dagodo was right. So in motor skills, we have two types: the fine motor skills and gross motor skills. So the fine motor skills relate to the use of the smaller muscles, and while the gross motor skills relates to the movements that uses large muscles. So in fine motor skills, these are movements involving smaller muscle groups such as those in hands and wrists. So what you can see here are the examples. For example, the writing, feeding oneself, buttoning, zippering, and waving. So if you can observe, this the fine motor skills involves the use of the upper extremities. So it includes the hands, the fingers, the arms. So that is fine motor skills. While in gross motor skills related to large muscles such as legs, arms, so it could be in the lower extremities or the whole extremities of the body. For example, the coordination to walk, balance, run, jump, climb, and throw. So that is fine motor skills and gross motor skills. And also, last night we have Sir Victor also taught us that the example, the crawling and the trooping. So those are an examples of gross motor skills. So how are we going to develop fine and gross motor skills? So we are going to provide physical activities to children so that their uh, skills could be developed because providing physical activities for children can uh, develop their gross motor skills and fine motor skills, and providing opportunities for children such as physical activities will exercise their muscles every day. Yeah. As also future educators, we need, especially in early childhood, because we are going to be future educators for early childhood, we should provide materials, equipment, child-sized furniture and appropriate materials for the children. So we should know the differences also of children in with regards to the motor development. So uh, so that is how we are going to develop fine and gross motor skills. Provide physical activities for children. So why do we need to develop fine and gross motor skills of children? So this includes to improve the self-confidence, the emotional development, and the social development. Because developing the fine or uh, fine and the gross motor skills of children also means that you are developing the child development of children. So as you can remember last night we have discussed the developmental domain in child development. We have the cognitive, the social, the moral, the language, the physical. We need to develop we need to develop fine and gross motor skills so that the child's development will not be delayed. So overall, physical development geared toward aiding in physical development contributes significantly to a person's health and well-being. So that was physical development. Did you understood about physical development? Anyone? Can anybody share what they have catch up from my discussion on physical development? Telebangko?
Yes. For me, physical development will increase their maturity and then their health. So it is important that we should be matured and develop our um, physical and um,
Okay. Oh, okay. So Telebangko was right. Physical development. We need to we need to uh, be mindful of the development of the child, including the physical changes, so that the child development the child development would not be delayed. So, again, so let's move on to the next topic, which is the brain development. So, can anybody read what is in the slide? Can you please mention your last name?
Campos.
Okay, come.
Brain, brain development. Brain development refers to the growth of the brain and the creation of new connections in the brain.
Okay, thank you. So, brain development. Brain development refers to the growth. The growth meaning the process, the the what we call it, the growth of the brain and the creation of the new connections in the brain. So, it involves example movement and activity. So, movement and activity positively impact the brain development. So here in the slide, you can see an example of a picture of the brain of a child after sitting quietly and the brain here in the picture on the right side, brain after a 20-minute walk. So can somebody um, explain or say something what you have observed on the picture and relate it to the brain development? Anyone, any idea on what is on the picture? And please mention your last name. Nobody?
Yakosta.
De Acosta, go.
In the first picture, the brain after sitting quietly, and the second picture is brain after 21 minutes walk. Then it shows that if we're going to do physical activity or any activity, our brains improve, like it develop our brain cells, or to improve ano siya, to improve the development of the child.
Okay, so that is that is correct. That is true that when we give physical activities to children, the brain starts to become active. So if you have observed on the picture of the left side of the brain after sitting quietly, there is no much color. So meaning the brain is functioning, but the brain is not active. But when a child goes after a 20-minute walk, the brain becomes active because all of the parts of this brain, those frontal lobes, those temporal lobes, and the parts of the brain are processing or active and are on the process of what the child has seen and has sensed during his or her activity. So when we give a child a physical activity, it's good for their brain development. It positively impacts their brain development. So here we have factors in that influence early brain development. So first we have physical activity, genetics, oxygen, responsiveness of caregivers, daily experiences, and love. So as I said a while ago, that physical activity positively impacts the brain development, as any physical activity makes your brain active and also enables you to develop your skills or discover new skills that are needed for your uh, future success to adulthood. Also, genetics. These are also factors that influence the early brain development. So, genetics, um, that is all about the genes or the study of genes. So, our genes carry information that get passed from one generation to the next generation. So, if in your line, in your family, if you have genetic problems or genes that has brain, for example, brain disorders or uh, neurological syndromes or disorders, this could also be a factor that would influence the brain development of a child. Next is oxygen. It is also a factor that could influence the brain development of the child, as you know, oxygen is important in our daily living. So if we have low oxygen in our brain, uh, it could lead to death. And also responsiveness of caregivers, daily experiences, and also love. So those are the factors influence early brain.
Anyone?
Elvinia.
Okay, Elvinia.
So in the example in the right side picture, it shows a brown eyes. So it could be that the genes of the parents have brown eyes and that it has been passed to the offspring. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's right. So when you inherit the eyes of your mother, it will be also for example, you have your mother has a brown eyes. It could be uh, there's a possible that you can also have that brown eye. So that is an example of genetics. Next is environment. So the environment plays a critical role or crucial role in the development of children, and it represents the sum total of physical and psychological stimulation the child receives. So it is one of the important that some of the environmental factors influencing early childhood development involve the physical surroundings. So it is very important to know the geographical conditions of the place the child lives in. as well as the social environment and relationships with the family. So in the right side, that is an example. So a good school and a loving family uh, builds children's strong social and interpersonal skill. So which it helps to enable them to excel their academics and kanang their extracurricular skills. So this will also, of course, be different for children who are raised in stressful environments. So it is very important that we uh, place the children in the good geographical condition. So next is sex. The sex of the child is another major factor affecting the physical growth and development of a child. Boys and girls grow in different ways, especially nearing puberty. So in the right side picture, um, boys tend to be taller as they grow up. You can see that the boys tend to be taller and the girls will get more matured uh, uh, in the adolescence. So in physical struggle, the however, girls tend to be mature faster during adolescence, while boys mature over a longer period of time. Next is exercise and health. So the word exercise here does not mean physical exercise as a discipline or children deliberately engaging in physical activities knowing it would help them grow. So exercise here refers to the normal playtime and sports activities which help the body gain an increase in muscular strength and put on bones. So these are the examples of the activities in the right side pictures that is an example that proper exercise helps children grow well, and exercise also keeps them healthy and fights off diseases kanang if you expose them in the outside, they will in the outdoor play, if you expose them to microbes that help them build resistance and prevent allergies in the future. Next is hormones. So hormones belong to the endocrine system and influence the various functions of our bodies. They are produced by different glands that are situated in specific parts of the body to secrete hormones that control body functions. So in the right picture, who wants to participate and explain? Please
Telebang.
mention. Okay, Telebangko.
So as what I've seen in the picture there, the example of having a hormone. So in the girls, they have the baby hair, the look, and then the boys is in the heart. So that is the
Okay, that is correct. So during puberty, you can see that there's physical changes or um, sexual appearance of the girls and boys. So during puberty, they will have hairs in the underarms, chest, or maybe in their private parts, and so on. Next is nutrition. So nutrition is a critical factor in growth as everything the body needs to build and repair itself comes from the food we eat. So malnutrition, for example, malnutrition can cause deficiency diseases. So as Mary said about the maternal nutrition, which is I which she report during the maternal, it is very important to while the child is in the womb of the mother, it's very important to eat nutritious food and to be healthy so that it won't affect the child growth. So next, Next is socioeconomic status. So the socioeconomic status of family determines the quality of the opportunity a child gets. Studying in the better schools that are more expensive definitely has benefits in the long run. So there are, for example, there are parents who can provide or offer better learning resources for their children, and they afford special financially and the kids needs, and some of it kanang, and the opposite, children from poorer families may not have access to educational resources and good nutrition to reach their full potential. So they may also have working parents. It is very important to spend time with the kid and invest time to have bond with your child sa para sa ay, for their development. Next is learning and reinforcement. So it is also concerned with building the child up mentally, intellectually, emotionally, and socially so they operate as healthy function individuals in the society. Uh, this is where the development of the mind takes place. Learning and reinforcement. So from the word learning, it keeps practicing and reinforcement. So a reinforcement is a component of learning where an activity or exercise is uh, sige English na lang. Repeated and repeatedly refined so that they can solidify the lessons they wanted to learn. So an example of this, I am I'm into music and I'm into playing instruments. So, to play my ukulele, I need to practice and practice so that I can learn the proper way to strum, to read tabs, and to put my proper positioning of my fingers in the fret of the ukulele. So therefore, any lessons that is taught has to be repeated until the right results are obtained. So that is reinforcement. So we're done talking about the factors. So next is exceptional development. So exceptional development, the term exceptional development, exceptional children is used to describe a group of children that has very specific developmental needs. Those are physical disabilities, sensory impairments, learning disabilities, and ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So first, let's talk about the physical disability.
Telebangko.
Okay, talibangko.
So physical disability is a limitation in a person's physical functioning, mobility, dexterity, or stamina. Other physical disabilities include impairments, which limit other facets of daily living, such as respiratory disorders, blindness, epilepsy, and sleep disorder.
Yes, thank you, Miss Diane. So, as you can see in the right picture, there's a kanang thing that supports the children because they're having physical disabilities. For example, they don't have fingers, they don't have uh, hands, their feet their legs won't move, so they need support. So, in this, I have an example who wants to explain in the picture. Anyone? No one? Okay. Uh, in this period, you can see, in this picture, you can see that the children is having trouble, having difficulties of moving. So that is physical disability. Next is sensory impairment. So, sensory impairment is one of your senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, and spatial awareness is no longer normal. So for example, in here in the uh, right picture, who wants to explain?
Elebangko.
The good dog.
Okay, the gudog.
Okay, in the right picture, the girl, I think she can read so that they are using eyeglasses. But also, for her, I think it's difficult to read because what we call sensory impairment. Also, the boy, I think he can hear voices or he can hear any sounds.
Okay, very good. That is correct. So I have here example in the next slide and this. So if you wear glasses or you have a sight impairment, and if you find it hard to hear, meaning you have a hearing impairment. So these are example that the children has a sensory impairment and their sights and their hearing. Next is learning disabilities. So who wants to read?
Elvinia,
Okay, Elvinia.
learning disability. It is a condition in the brain that causes difficulties comprehending or processing information and can be caused by several different factors. Given the difficulty learning in a typical manner, this does not exclude the ability to learn in a different manner.
Okay, thank you. So, learning disability generally refers to an intellectual disability. So, there are conditions based on my research. It is called dyslexia. So, they're having trouble to understand or to catch up things. They're very hard to teach for a longer period of time. They keep reading, but they don't understand it. So, that is what we call learning disabilities. Next is ADHD or attentive deficit hyperactivity disorder. So who wants to read?
Yakosta.
Elebangko.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yakosta. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder or ADHD is a developmental disorder characterized by excessive amount of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity that are pervasive, impairing in multiple contexts, and otherwise age inappropriate.
Okay, thank you. So ADHD is very hard to the child lost a patience. It's very hard. So you can the teachers or you can notice if the child has ADHD if they have a disruptive behavior or they're very hard-headed or gahig ay, forward. And impulsive are common in ADHD. So that is ADHD. So that's it for my report. Christine will continue. Thank you.
Is my screen is available? Is my screen is visible?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
it's
visible.
visible.
So we're going to topic about linguistic and literacy development of children. So language and literacy are major domains of early childhood development. These are connected areas but refer to different things. Language development involves the development of skill used to communicate with others through language, while literacy development involves the ability to read and write. So the language and literacy is not the critical part of any child overall development. It supports the ability of your child to communicate and, and express an understanding feeling, and also support your child thinking ability and helps them develop and maintain relationship. So next is emergent and early literacy, reading development and performance. So what is emergent literacy? It's a term that is used to explain a child knowledge of reading and writing skill before they learn how to read and write words. Next is early literacy. Refer to the development of skills students need in order to transition from learning to reading to learn. So early literacy play a key role in enabling the kind of early learning experience that research show are linked with academic achievement, reduced grade, retention, graduation, high graduation rate, and enhanced productive in adult life. So they are four stage of language acquisition. First is pre-talking. This stage takes place from birth to around 6 months of age. During this time, the child does not speak but is beginning to understand short words and phra- phrases that are central to their needs and interests. For example, of free talking of example of free talking, free speech sounds would be da da da, ma, and wah, like that. Next is bubbling. 6 to 8 months old. In this phase, the infant begin to bubble, bub- bubble, and make noise and syllables that are not yet words. Physically, teeth begin to appear in the muscle in the mouth required for speech begin to develop. Next is holoplastic. The holoplastic stage is significantly longer, occurring between 9 and 18 months old. During this phase, the infant begins to learn and speak single words. In the beginning, these words are strongly centered around basic needs and interests as well as name or identifiers like mama, dada, like that. So next is two words. This stage take This stage takes place from 18 to 24 months old. When children have developed single word speech, they begin to pair group of words together into mini sentence and praise like I want or give me. So the meaning of literacy, the ability to read, write, speak, and listen in a way that let us communicate effectively and make sense of world. So next is factors affecting development. When raising children, there are many factors from family and environment to genes and biology that influence their growth and development. So first is early language stimulation. Early language stimulation is what speech pathologists call strategies used and taught to parents and carers to help children who may be late talkers, who are becoming frustrated because they can talk to express their message, or children who are just beginning to use their first word. So, early language speech pathologists drew to parents to help children who can talk to express their message. So, last is literate communities and environment. So, we have elementary classroom, serve a venue for language acquisition. They offer language environment that encourage students to listen, talk, read, and write, reflect, view, and visual represent. So, teacher plays a multifaceted role in a language classroom. Teachers should realize that children literacy is dependent upon opportunities for children to engage in meaningful and purposeful experience with a member of the class. Next is classroom environment. It needs to be established within the first 2 weeks of the school year. They are oriented about the procedure and routine to be observed in language arts by the teachers. Next is the teacher or classroom manager. They lay the rules and set the expectation. The classroom rules are definite and consistent for the purpose of instilling the discipline. And lastly is the story reading. Young children are aware of what make a story. Knowledge about story is called a concept of a story. That's all. Thank you.
Mana?
Yes, sir. That's group 2 is done, sir.
Managbasa? Okay ha. So, na-observe na ko nung ang uban sige nagbasa ra gid taon. Og explanation. Okay. So, next time ha, reporters, and then please take note of that. Okay, so what are those learning disabilities, Ezra?
One of the examples, sir, is dyslexia, sir.
Oh, usara po mihatag dyslexia rasad. What are the other learning disabilities? Bethany.
Aphasia, sir. Aphasia.
Okay, what's
They
aphasia?
delayed language development.
Okay, so there's a problem for language development. What else? What are the other learning disabilities? Ezra.
Sorry, sir. I only research about dyslexia, sir.
Okay, Dayan.
ADHD, sir.
ADHD. So what is ADHD?
ADHD is those people who has an active and more disturbance to the other.
Mm. Okay, thank you. How about Albania? Yes, ADHD.
As a ADHD, sir, is attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. These are the children who has trouble paying attention and has impulsive behaviors.
Balikang definition bi kay si Ezra nag-ingong attentive hyper kuno ang sa attention unsa man gyud? Unsa man gyud
Atten-
ingon?
Inattention.
attention deficit
Inattention.
hyperactivity disorder.
Nag-ingon po siya inattention na pod. Unsa man gyud? IA ADHD or ADHD unsa man gyud na? O,
ADHD, sir.
okay, ADHD. So, dungan mong tanan ang meaning, attention, hyper, ADHD man, no? So, unsa man, AD man. So, attention, deficit,
Deficit.
hyper.
Hyperactive,
Hyperactivity disorder.
hyperactivity disorder.
Okay, so meaning to say, a child has trouble focusing on something or a thing. Okay, because the child in nature is hyper. Di ba? Sobraan ka langas. Okay? So, unsa man nga question sa board exam, unsa man kunoy tambal painom sa bata nga mga nay ADHD. Unsa man Ezra, biogesic, or kuan na lang, hilo na lang para mo. Di na mo langas. It's
I don't
Ritalin.
know, sir.
Ritalin. Okay, take note ha, Ritalin. Igawa sa board exam. Ritalin, no? Sa mo na ipainom sa mga bata nga na ADHD. Okay? And what are the other learning disabilities? Aside from aphasia, dyslexia, ADHD. Yes, Bethany.
Dyspraxia, sir.
Dyspraxia. What is dyspraxia?
Disorder that affects body movement or coordination.
So, ano na lang para di mo makalimot. Dyslexia, reading difficulty. Dyspraxia, motor movement difficulty. Aphasia, language development difficulty. Sa pailain. Si Bethany rin estudyante na to ani. Si Bethany rin nag-research. Bantay ng uban ha. Okay, Bethany.
Dyscalculia.
Dyscalculia. What's that?
Inability to understand number information or mathematics operand problems.
Yes, or number difficulty. Again, dyscalculia, what's that? Everyone?
Number difficulty.
Number difficulty. Okay.